What if a company could book the profits of a 20-year deal on the exact day it was signed, without having received a single cent in cash? That is precisely how Enron's executives built a massive house of cards. While the company was valued at over $70 billion, and top insiders quietly dumped hundreds of millions of dollars in stock, they told the world the business was invincible, hiding billions in debt behind a phantom web of shell companies. Today on Empires and Ruins, we uncover how unbridled greed, creative accounting, and the blind eye of Wall Street triggered the most shocking downfall in financial history, the collapse of Enron. Act 1. The Rise and the Accounting Magic. To understand the fall of Enron, we have to rewind to the mid-1980s. The company began in a modest, traditional way, the result of a merger between two Midwest pipeline companies, led by a man named Kenneth Lay. At the time, Enron was just another infrastructure firm operating natural gas pipelines. It was a stable business, but heavy, slow, and with modest profit margins. Everything changed in the early 1990s with the arrival of Jeffrey Skilling. Skilling, a brilliant and ambitious consultant from McKinsey, brought a revolutionary vision. What if Enron stopped being just a pipeline operator and became a sort of stock exchange for natural gas? Instead of merely delivering gas, Enron would trade supply contracts, turning energy into a highly tradable financial commodity. The idea was a massive success, turning Enron into Wall Street's newest darling. But Skilling attached one major condition to running the division. Enron had to completely alter how it accounted for its revenue. He demanded the adoption of a controversial financial rule known as mark-to-market accounting, or fair value accounting. In simple terms, this method allowed Enron to estimate all projected profits for a long-term contract, say a 20-year deal, and immediately book the full value of that expectation on the current quarter's balance sheet. If Enron signed a deal and projected it would generate $100 million over 2 decades, that $100 million entered the books overnight as real profit. In practice, the company began living on unrealistic projections. When a deal went wrong in the real world and lost money, Enron didn't adjust its estimates. Instead, it signed new fictitious deals to cover the previous gap with future profits. On paper, Enron appeared to be an unstoppable money-making machine, catapulting its stock price on Wall Street. But under the hood, the cash vaults were empty, and the company was quietly piling up a colossal mountain of real debt. Act 2. The Web of Lies and Shell Companies. As mark-to-market projections drifted further from reality, Enron faced a massive problem: how to hide hundreds of millions of dollars in actual losses without scaring off Wall Street. The answer to this dilemma came in the form of Chief Financial Officer Andrew Fastow. Fastow devised one of the most complex and sinister financial engineering schemes in history. He created a network of hundreds of shell companies, technically known as Special Purpose Entities, or SPEs, with exotic names like Chuco, LJM, and Raptor. On paper, these entities were independent partnerships. In practice, they were Enron's secret tools to sweep toxic debt under the rug. The trick was deviously simple. When an Enron investment tanked or an asset lost value, like failed power plant projects in India or high-speed broadband ventures, Enron sold these bad assets to its own SPEs. In return, the SPS paid Enron using money borrowed from major banks, backed by Enron's own stock. By doing this, Enron wiped the debt and losses clean off its official balance sheet and logged the transaction as legitimate sales revenue. Wall Street looked at the quarterly reports, and saw a wildly profitable, debt-free company. But in truth, Enron was backing the financial health of these phantom entities with its own inflated stock. Making matters worse, Andrew Fastow managed these external partnerships himself. He collected millions of dollars in management fees directly from the SPEs, enriching himself while deceiving shareholders. This massive house of cards kept growing, but it relied on one single condition. Enron's stock price had to keep rising forever. If the stock fell, the entire web would collapse. Pause and think about this for a second. To anyone outside of Wall Street, doesn't it seem like the entire financial system was fooled way too easily? Or do you think the big banks and auditors knew exactly what was happening and simply took their cut of the profits? I'd love to read your take. Drop a comment down below. B. Act 3. The Collapse and the Whistleblowers. By early 2001, Enron's gleaming facade began to crack. As the dot-com bubble burst, Enron's broadband and energy trading arms accumulated losses that were becoming impossible to hide. Wall Street, once blinded by greed, started asking uncomfortable questions about how the company was actually making money. In August of that year came the first major blow. Jeffrey Skilling, the architect of Enron's aggressive expansion, unexpectedly resigned as CEO after just 6 months in the top role, citing personal reasons. The sudden exit of the man who promised to reshape global energy sent shockwaves through the market. This forced Kenneth Lay, Enron's founder and chairman of the board, who had previously handed daily control to Skilling, to step back in as CEO, scrambling to reassure panicked investors that the company was on solid ground. But the real fire was burning from within. A vice president of corporate development named Sherron Watkins realized that Andrew Fastow's off-the-books partnerships were a ticking time bomb. In an act of extraordinary courage, Watkins drafted an anonymous memo and later met face-to-face with Lay himself, warning that Enron might implode in a wave of accounting scandals. Her warning was brushed aside by leadership, but reality couldn't be ignored for long. Months later, the SEC launched a formal investigation into Enron's dealings with Fastow's phantom entities. Word leaked, stock prices collapsed from nearly $90 to mere pennies in weeks, and pure panic took over. As reporters and investors watched the disaster unfold in real time, shredders at Arthur Andersen, the accounting firm tasked with auditing Enron, worked overtime, destroying tons of sensitive documents to cover their own tracks. The greatest corporate illusion in history was about to crumble to dust. ACT 4. The Aftermath, Convictions, and Legacy. On December 2, 2001, Enron made it official. It filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Overnight, $74 billion in market value simply vanished from Wall Street, marking what was then the largest corporate failure in global history. But the true tragedy was not measured merely in numbers on a stock ticker, but in the devastating impact on everyday lives. Over 20,000 employees were abruptly laid off. To make matters worse, Enron's leadership had heavily encouraged, and in many cases restricted, workers from diversifying their retirement funds away from Enron stock. While top executives quietly dumped their own multi-million-dollar shares behind closed doors, rank-and-file workers watched helplessly as a lifetime of hard work turned into worthless paper. The trail of destruction didn't stop at Enron's doorstep. Arthur Andersen, one of the legendary Big Five accounting firms in the world, which audited Enron while raking in millions in consulting fees, collapsed in a devastating domino effect. Upon being convicted of obstruction of justice for the systematic shredding of tons of sensitive documents, the firm lost its license to audit public companies, dragging 85,000 global jobs down with it. federal prosecutors launched a massive campaign to send a clear message to corporate America. Andrew Fastow, the mastermind behind the phantom entities, cooperated with investigators and served 6 years in federal prison. Jeffrey Skilling was convicted on 19 counts of fraud, conspiracy, and insider trading, serving over 12 years behind bars. Kenneth Lay, the founder and chairman, was also found guilty on multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy, but suffered a fatal heart attack in 2006 before he could be sentenced. The ashes of Enron reshaped Wall Street forever. The scandal birthed the historic Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, enforcing strict rules on corporate governance, independent auditing, and establishing direct criminal liability with prison time for CEOs who sign off on fraudulent financial statements. Enron proved to the world that unbridled ambition can turn even America's most celebrated company into nothing more than a gleaming facade hiding an abyss of greed. If you want to understand how greed and financial scandals continue to shape the global business world, make sure to subscribe to Empires and Ruins and hit the notification bell. Don't forget to like this video and drop your thoughts on the Enron saga in the comments below. See you in the next story.